Palworld is getting bigger than I think Pocket Pair ever thought it could become, and far bigger than the games industry would like it to be. Recently, I have been seeing both game developers and games journalists chiming in, saying that they believe that Pocket Pair's Palworld is nothing but a flash in the pan, that the only reason that the game is popular is because of the controversy that surrounds the game, which doesn't really make a lot.
The controversy made the game more popular, but the game being more popular also created the controversy.
A lot of sense why people are still playing it right now. Nor does it make a lot of sense that they're still the ones that are talking about it. It's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it? Now, with that said, today what I want to do is I want to discuss what many people believe the future of Palworld will look like with something a little bit more realistic. I want to look at the roadmap for Palworld and how that pertains to the future of the game, but also I want to talk about other survival games that have continued to thrive far after their initial launch.
Okay.
Do people not realize that this game is only halfway done? Most of the mechanics that they've listed in their roadmap are like core mechanics that haven't been implemented into the game yet. This thing's going to be a behemoth by the time it's done. Personally, I believe Palworld...
I hope that they do something in Palworld like they have traps in Monster Hunter, where like certain traps you can like lead the monster over a trap, and then while the monster is affected by the trap, the catch rate is like doubled. I think that would be really cool. They do? Huh. That's crazy. It's a good idea.
Has the largest, highest ceiling of any survival game that we've ever seen. Ever. The now #1 most played game on Steam has sold over 20 million copies.
This one sucks, by the way. This bird is fucking garbage. He should have gone with the beacon. It's way better.
In the first 2 weeks of its release.
Or the bacon.
To put that into perspective, Hogwarts Legacy stole the show last year with over 24 million copies sold over the course of the year, making it the most selling game of 2023.
That's nuts.
Palworld has exploded, and it has caught the attention of everyone. Fans, haters, critics, and developers, with the game remaining in the trending sections of Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. However, one place has remained relatively silent, and that's Japanese media, which, according to Tokyo Sports, media professionals advise against talent and celebrities talking about Palworld in any capacity, as it ultimately may danger their reputation with the Pokemon brand and Nintendo.
Is there any evidence that Nintendo is actually mad about this, or is it people just making it up? Because, like, I think it's just people making up bullshit. Like, I mean, look at Digimon. I mean, I remember whenever I was, like, 9, and I saw Digimon, I said, wait up, they can do that? And, like, my dad was like, my mom was like, yeah, it's just the way it is.
Quoting the article directly, we have told our talent not to mention Palworld on social media or in public. This was done out of consideration for the Pokemon side as an agency. This decision was made in consideration of future collaborations and etc. Now, this may seem like a relatively hot take. However, from a business perspective, this is the best thing for these companies to do, because Pokemon Company, any chance that they wouldn't want to work with these people would be a major loss in business. Now, from a moral perspective, this sucks. Pokemon is a global brand. It's the biggest media.
It's so hard for me to say, like, whether that's something that's Nintendo did say they'd enforce copyright, but they didn't mention they'd go after Palworld specifically. Yeah, I mean, well, like, look, I can see why they wouldn't have done it, and I can also see why they would have. I don't think that there's like a just clean and easy explanation for like why they haven't done it yet.
Be a franchise.
It's coming. I'm ready. I hope it does.
Have many competitors. It effectively has a
I watched this in movie
on the
theaters.
creature collecting genre. With as much money as the Pokemon Company makes in
I got the ancient
merchandise, games, anime, comics, and movies, harming your relationship with that brand, especially as a Japanese company, is just not a risk that's worth taking. Now, whether
there's a lot of companies like that that are just total fucking pussies. Like, sure.
Or isn't the intent of the Pokemon Company or Nintendo, it doesn't really matter, because the sheer size of the Pokemon franchise is so big and so influential that it effectively limits freedom of expression, consumer transparency, innovation, or competition within the markets it dwells in, because it's just that big. I cracked the joke to my friend the other day that if all of human civilization ended and some alien race comes in and they check the remains of what was left behind, they would likely find Pokemon, and they'd find so many of them that they would probably believe that we worship these little critters. And in many ways,
well, yeah, I was about to say,
we did.
Yeah, we did.
Now, with that said, this is one of the reasons
Charizard?
why many other creature collection games that come in never find anything other than niche relevance, because the Pokemon brand is so massive that it stifles anything else that comes close to it. Could you ever imagine any game?
It's like, yeah, it's like World of Warcraft, you know, for the longest time. It was like just the biggest MMO, and like every other MMO was like shit because WoW was out.
Ever beating Pokemon? No. The only thing that could beat Pokemon is Pokemon.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, Palworld doesn't really care, and it doesn't really matter whether or not the Japanese markets are talking about it or celebrities or whatever.
It's only one country.
It's so massive that it's on the tips of everyone's tongues around the world. It's so disruptive and abrasive that it doesn't matter how big Pokemon is, because it's impossible to ignore Palworld.
Yep.
Now, with that said, some of the people that aren't ignoring it tend to be also some of the most vocal, and they're also the ones that believe that Palworld won't last within a month. Dead by Daylight developer Nathan S. writes, Palworld, crossing 2 million concurrent players, moved it past CSGO to only trail PUBG in Steam's all-time concurrent rankings. However, it is already the clear record holder for how quickly I became sick of talking about a game. I don't think Palworld is very good. It's insanely buggy. The most dangerous enemies are the random holes on the map.
No.
Combat is boring and repetitive. The balancing is
I don't think that's true.
Awful. This becomes really apparent in the mid and end game when catch rates seem to decrease and your own weapon's damage dramatically outscales what your pals are capable of. The large open world...
Your own weapon's damage dramatically outscales what your pals are capable of. He needs to get some better pals. Because I tell you one thing, Mo, my Jet Dragon... My ferocious, divine, legendary Jet Dragon that's fully maxed out at the PAL statue can literally one-tap the mammoth in the opening area with one attack. And he's not even finished. He's not even done.
Is empty. Littered with points of interest that aren't home to anything interesting.
Home to anything interesting.
The combination of two strong loops is powerful stuff. Monster taming's just one more catch, and crafting's just one more build result in an addictive amount of just one more. And since I'm weak, I'll admit that I've played a great many hours and beaten all the towers. However, I won't be chasing all the legendaries, and I'll be doing my best to...
You mean you didn't beat the legendary Pokemon, but you beat all the I don't know, man. Like, how the fuck did you beat the bird, the shadow bird? You didn't have a single legendary? Like, I want to see that. He just used a gun? You can't just go in there and shoot him with a gun, can you? I mean, that's not even like... You can't just do that.
Resist new content when it arrives. Palworld is early access. The windfall its sales have generated should allow it to deliver on its roadmap. And I'm sure both the balancing and bugs will be addressed. Yes, it's missing something I don't think any amount of money can fix. There's no warmth here.
Yeah, this is always the kind of shit that people say, and then they release some AAA soulless garbage like the Suicide Squad that just sucks so much dick that people spend the next 10 years doing video essays about how many dicks did it actually suck. You know, there's like one guy's video essay, it says it's 197. Some guy else says, you know, it's like 37. Then somebody's like, oh, yeah, but that's in a row, so it's different. Like, what are we talking about? Like, I feel like if you want to talk about something that's missing warmth, it's modern AAA games. It's modern Western games.
I'm sitting here wondering whether or not we're playing the same game, especially when he starts talking about him outscaling his pals. Buddy, you're catching the wrong monsters or you don't know how to train.
Yeah, bro. Like, I want to watch him play the game. Like, anytime I see somebody criticize a game, especially if it's a develop, I want to see him play it. Nope, I want to see the problem.
What is the point of bringing up how the game has bugs and issues only in the same breath to talk about how the game is in early access and many of those things are going to be fixed anyway because you realize that the game has made enough money to do so?
Yeah.
Then also to recognize the two biggest strengths of the game and catch one more and build one more,
right?
Only to take the moral high road in the end and talk about something as abstract as warmth and how you're not going to play the game and you're going to avoid any future.
I don't know. I think that some of the Pokemon are really cute and or pals. Like I like the little penguin. I think he's nice. I think that Catris is really nice. She's cute. Not like that, guys. Just settle the fuck down. Depresso. I think Depresso is probably the funniest one. T-Font? Yeah, T-Font's pretty good too. Chillet. I think Chillet is really nice too. And like usually it's just like these are the ones that like people will recognize these. If Palworld continues to be a big game, people will recognize these characters. But you're right that number one will probably be Depresso.
Or updates.
I don't know what that says.
The game, and you don't want to talk about the game or anything like that. Yet here you are talking about it. All of this
Smash or Pass video incoming. We should do that. We should do a Smash or Pass tier list for Palworld. Somebody needs to make one for me, and then I'll do it on stream.
Moral high roading that we've been seeing from developers across the industry over the last few years speaks volumes about the state of things, especially the reasons as to why we're getting games like Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. It's because they recognize and they know the things that we enjoy and we like, but they want us to do what they want.
That's right. He's totally fucking right about this, because like that's really what it comes down to. It's these developers that want you to like the game the way that they make the game. Like I think Blizzard is like fucking like example number 1 through like 50 for this. Think about how many people quit playing WoW because Blizzard developers couldn't stop making a game in a way that like just dicked on players. It's like, yeah, no, you really want to do Torghast. This is our vision. You've got to do it this way. Like, no, we fucking don't, idiot. No.
I'm so sick of it. Nathan continues by saying, at the risk of being saccharine, what makes Pokemon so special is the bond you form between your adorable little ball dwellers. And this
How old's Nathan? He's probably like about 40. Maybe he's like 35 to 40, looks somewhere around there. Yeah, it's because you grew up with Pokemon, bro. I think that's the real reason. It's my opinion.
Also, to recognize the two biggest strengths of the game and catch enough breath to talk about how the game is in early access and many of those things are going to be fixed anyway because you realize that the game has made enough money to do so. Then also to recognize
Make sure I'm caught up.
Of it.
Sorry about that.
Nathan continues by saying, at the risk of being saccharine, what makes Pokemon so special is the bond you form between your adorable little ball dwellers. And this bond is the source of something approaching ludonarrative harmony.
Oh, fuck. So it's also because there's like an anime that personifies the character. Like, for example, like Pikachu has a whole personality because there's been 20 years of content made of Pikachu. The same with like Charmander and shit. The reason why people love those little characters is because there was an anime. It's like basically, it's like the Pokemon anime is just a commercial, right? And it was a damn good one.
Strongest trainers are those who have the greatest connection with their Pokemon. The fundamental tenet of the franchise is that there's power in empathy. Nothing hammers this idea home better.
Oh, fuck. Here we go. Another gamer or developer that's trying to make a fucking a social statement. Holy fuck. Another social statement. God, can you please stop it? Can you please fucking quit it? The power of friendship. Oh, you're so... It's just like there's nothing unique or special about this take.
In the first episode of the animated series, one of the greatest episodes of anything ever.
Yeah, it was so
Ash
good.
Was willing to sacrifice himself to save Pikachu. As Cass Marshall wrote in a great piece for Polygon, the problem is that I don't particularly care for any of my pals. I've caught hundreds of pals. I won't remember a single one. These critters are just disposable resources and labor. And aesthetics aside, they remind me more of slaves in Conan Exiles than any Pokemon. I'm hardly the...
I hate to say it, But if I look at a lot of the new Pokemon, what the fuck is that? Like, they ran out of animals, so they just, oh, what's this? Is this a Pokemon? What, like, this looks like a guy that's gonna, like, this looks like a guy that gets arrested for public indecency. Is this actually a Pokemon? I don't even know. That's a cute one. I'll have to admit, I think that one's cute. What I'm saying is that I think a lot of the new Pokemon don't have the same style or the same type of, and maybe this is me because, like, I didn't grow up with that generation, so, like, I don't have that connection to it. But, like, I see them and I just think they look boring.
First to make this point, but the greatest takeaway from Palworld is the missed opportunity for Game Freak, who have been taking devoted player base for granted for far too long.
True.
Hopefully this serves as a wake-up call. The bigger winner here beyond Pocket Pair? Whomever at Microsoft Xbox Publishing Studios signed that Game Pass deal. Now, this returns to something that I've talked about in past videos, where I believe that there are some studios that really don't understand their audiences. And in this instance specifically, when we're looking at the writer from Polygon as well as Nathan, they are reading far too much into the connection between players and their digital creatures. Well,
as always, developers like to intellectualize and try to... This is the issue I think a lot of devs have now, is that they try to make a statement with their fucking game. Stop trying to make a statement. People are going to forget what you said the moment the game is over. Stop trying to put yourself out there as if you understand. Like, it's just fucking, it's so narcissistic. It's like, oh, everybody has to hear about, like, my vision of how the world should be. Holy fuck, man. It's so exhausting. Death Stranding? Well, no, I have no problem with people that want to do it. And it's also, it's not that it's bad. It's that the people that criticize it are never, you don't see Kojima criticizing Palworld. It's always these people that make mediocre games, generally, that are doing it. Games that nobody gives a shit about the narrative in this game. Who cares? Or it's boring and one-dimensional. The actual people that are making the good games probably play this. They recognize, oh, this is some, like, bullshit Pokemon knockoff where you can shoot them with guns. Oh, cool. And that's it. They get it.
This is anecdotal. When I was growing up, I loved Pokemon. I wanted to be just like Ash Ketchum with my Pokemon best friends, striving to be the best there ever was. However, I did not have that same connection with the creatures that I caught in the game. In fact, I would assume most players don't. How many players are out there with Bill's PCs filled to the brim with monsters that they don't care or have any connection with at all, and instead are running around with a team of the strongest monsters possible because that's the kind of gameplay that Pokemon games promote? If anything, because of the way that we interact with pals in Palworld, use them for tasks at our base, use them for travel.
Yeah, I think that one issue in Palworld, this is like kind of a minor thing, is that I think you should have some form of way of upgrading the skills of the smaller pals, because I actually like the idea of having a lot of little small pals running around as slaves rather than having big ones, because it kind of ruins the power dynamic whenever you're having like a big dragon do it for you. But if you have like you can upgrade it by one level. Yeah, I mean like all the way though.
And use them for battle, Palworld
That's what I mean.
may actually be a little bit more effective in creating an attachment with the players.
Yeah.
Heck, I have Blaze Howl Noct running around my base, heating things up, even though I know I have better monsters at kindling.
He's
Why?
cool.
Because I like the monster, I like the way that he looks, and I'm convinced that he's a better heater or kindler because of how awesome he is. I'm sure that there are...
I've got that red fucking bullshit Gyarados thing. All he does is get stuck on the roof and die. I turn around, I come back, oh, I'm dead again. How'd you get up there? I don't know.
players that are just like that, riding around or using
so
certain
fucking
monsters
stupid.
just because they like the way they look or because they just have kept that monster throughout the entire time that they've been playing. Pokemon games force the exact opposite on us. You need to use the most effective units in every situation, otherwise you're not an effective player.
You're
now,
not a
Pokemon back to
master.
Nathan's initial summation of the game, and he talks about how he thinks the open world is empty, the gameplay is boring and repetitive, and how balancing is terrible. Well, we could say the exact same thing about the Pokemon series right now as well. But regardless, they believe that the most value is in this warmth that they speak of, in the connection between us and our pals, even though he recognized the area where the game was the strongest, which is in its addictive gameplay loops, which tells me that their priorities are not...
And it is also funny to me. I wonder if he played Palworld more than he played the recent Pokemon game. Because if he said that he beat all the different towers, I don't know if he beat the last one. Like, you didn't even get any of the legendaries. Like, what do you mean, right? Because, like, doesn't that really say a lot? So, like, did you really play the other one? Because that's it. That's really what says it more than anything else.
Same as the players, because, well, we can see the concurrent player numbers on Palworld. The game's doing absolutely fantastic. It's crushed it in sales. And why is that? Well, it's because it's a game that has its priorities in the right place. It's because it's gameplay first rather than anything else. And while I do think that some of the things that they talk about when they're talking about creativity and originality do matter, it doesn't matter as much in the face of just making sure that the game is actually fun to play and functional. Largely, I think.
Well, look at Only Up and fucking Dark and Darker. That shit's just store assets, but people played it and liked it a lot because it was a good game. Like, as I said, bro, these devs are lost. They're actually lost. They're like, I feel like, you know who the mining canary for this developer narcissism issue is? You know who it is. Everybody knows who it is. When I say it, you're going to be like, yep, Neil Druckmann. That's it. That was the guy. That is the guy that so many of these fucking devs want to be. They want to be known as a fucking, like, you know, it's not enough for them to be able to be this great game developer that makes great games. People have to, like, perceive you as having some kind of fucking, you know, like, next level vision for the future. It's so fucking annoying.
One of the best early access releases I've ever seen. You know, I've seen a lot of criticisms around this game, specifically for creativity and originality, and it always loops back to that, especially with a lot of the developers and also a lot of the game's journalists that want to criticize the game in every way they possibly can. And they believe that that's largely the reason why the game is not going to continue to succeed in the future. They think it's going to fail as a result of that lack of creativity and originality. Me, personally, I'm looking at the game seeing that...
I mean, Call of Duty's been going on for how long?
They're following very specific archetypes. They're blending those archetypes very well together, and they're also laying themselves a foundation and a path forward based off the successes of other games that is likely a guaranteed road to success.
Yeah.
Palworld's popularity and growth has been out of control,
get a new
with
bird.
server costs now costing over $500,000 a month. The CEO cracking jokes that the company could go bankrupt just from server costs alone.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Now, ultimately, like any game, Palworld's popularity is
That's
not
one thing
going
people always talking. They, you know, I talk about like expensive games, like the server costs and shit like this for games now is astronomical.
Keep pace. People are going to finish the game. They're going to get distracted by many of the big releases that are right around the corner. Can't wait for Dragon's Dogma 2, by the way. And while concurrent player numbers may fall, it's crucial to keep in mind.
It's a fucking single-player game that has, like, a limited amount of content. Like, Valheim is an amazing, incredible game, but I bet there's not a lot of people playing it right now. Because people that wanted to play it already played through it, and so there's not as many people that are going to play it. It's like Starfield. Starfield sucks, but, like, the player numbers don't matter. Like, Elden Ring probably doesn't have as many players right now because people played Elden Ring. They're done. That's the way a game with finite content works. Like, and this is the problem that gamers have. And this is why these games keep trying to push this live service shit. Because gamers are like, oh, but the game is, there's not as many people playing the game. It's dying. And then it's like, okay, well, we're going to add in dailies to make people have to play the game. They're like, oh, I hate dailies. Now the game's dying because of dailies.
A very early build of the game. Many of the game systems aren't even fully implemented yet. Tons of planned content for the game's full release still is in its planning phases. And the team at Pocket Pair will have their work cut out for them when it comes to bug fixes, as well as just fixing a lot of the pathing issues that the game faces right now. Now, I want to clarify something because I think it's going to give people a clearer picture of what the future of Palworld could look like. This game is early access, and many players that are playing the game right now probably haven't played an early access game before, or at least a true...
Oh, they have. It just probably wasn't marketed as an early access game. I've played tons of early access games.
Early access like Palworld.
Just because a game says it's not early access, that doesn't mean it's not early access.
Well, Baldur's Gate 3 was released into early access 3 years before its full release.
I played that.
Early access in Baldur's Gate 3 was only part of the first act, and it grew more and more as time went on until it was basically the first act complete. It was buggy. Characters, quests, equipment, systems, and more were completely missing from the game. 3 years later, we got the behemoth that is Baldur's Gate 3. Now, while Palworld may not necessarily have the same type of roadmap, I'm just trying to illustrate that this game is in its infancy. It's this big in its infancy.
Be a little more careful. That skin's valuable, and we won't always be watching.
As a sandbox survival game, Creature Collector, the game doesn't really need a whole lot of content to give it legs. It can walk on its own, because really when it comes to games like this, we just need a sandbox and the tools to make whatever our own adventure is. And that's something that they are obviously leaning into. That's the archetype that they've designed when it comes to Palworld, because what they want to do is strengthen the game at its strongest point, which is give players more opportunities to play together and do more things together. They're chasing the Ark and Rust dragon rather than...
That's true. That's smart. I think that would be a lot of fun. If they ever add a raid boss, I'm going to do it.
Live service dragon, as many other companies would like to play at. But with that said, that's the smartest path for them to pick, because those games remain relevant. Why? Because they're played together by people on bigger and bigger servers, and that's been one of the main focuses that...
Bro, I've had like one of my friends, bro, he's been texting me like every day to play Rust with him. Like, I need to fucking do it, bro. Like, because Rust is so good. It is such a good game, man. I would love to go back and play that game again.
Has really been trying to lean into.
You don't want to play Ark. If you want to play Ark, just put your dick in a toaster. It's the same thing.
Play. They want to make servers even bigger than just 32 players, and who knows how big they actually want to make
them. And also, don't turn the toaster on. It's not like it's going to hurt you. It's just disappointing and uncomfortable.
But it's going to take a lot of money to do so, but it's going to help once these concurrent player numbers start to dip down a little bit, because server costs will be a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they'll be able to then invest that money that they've already been spending on the current servers on servers that can allow larger and larger populations. So them choosing to lay out their roadmap, and if you guys have looked at it, most of the things that are on there are specifically for multiplayer.
Yeah,
and
100%.
There's a plan behind that. Multiplayer is the reason why I think Palworld might have the highest ceiling of any multiplayer survival game that we've ever seen. Games like Ark.
I'm going to be really curious to see how the game actually plays in multiplayer, and like what the multiplayer experience is really going to be like.
Allow players to create their own story. Like, you've likely seen videos of it. I was recently watching a 3-hour video with over 5 million views about how 3,000 players simulated Earth civilization in Rust. The reason why things like this are possible in games like this is because they give players the tools to do whatever they want with that world. However, games like Rust and Ark aren't always appealing to everyone. You know what is appealing to everyone? Palworld.
Well, the reason why it's not appealing, I think, is primarily because it's a PvP game that has full loot. I mean, a game like that is never going to be popular in the same way that something like Palworld can be popular. That's always going to be for a niche of people. And in the opposite way, I think that Rust videos are way more interesting to watch than Palworld ones. It's just the way it is.
Those figures proved it. The CEO of Palworld has already come out saying that they're looking for more ways to be able to get more players into the game. They want to increase their server size.
A yellow ball for a
13.
players.
Once this game has migration services, that means that we're going to have the ability to build our own team and character on a solo world or on a group world, head over to a friend's realm, or take our team to a larger server for trading, fighting, and playing with other players. The foundation that Palworld...
What they need to have is like, you know, like in Fast and the Furious where they race for pink sheets? They need to have like PAL battles where like if you win, you take the other dude's fucking PAL. Pink slips? Yeah, pink slips. Yeah, like they need to have that. Where like you both sign up for it and then people can watch. That would be fucking crazy. Like PAL slips.
World has already set, and the creativity of players in other survival games show us exactly what we can expect for the future of this game. Role-playing and modding...
Maybe you could have another mode where, like, instead of taking the other person's PAL, you just literally fucking kill it. You literally just fucking kill it. I think that would be crazy. You get a butcher, there's like a cinematic of you butchering it. And then like the other players in the cinematic like cry.
Has blown up over the years, and given with how flexible Palworld already is, I mean, we already saw somebody mod Pokemon into Palworld within a week of its release. The possibility for this game is endless.
Yeah, sure.
It's already easy to see a future in which I'm being able to play the game on a modded server where there's 8 islands, and each one of those islands have 8 bosses, and if I beat them, I get certifications from each that allow me to be able to take on 4 really powerful enemies. We'll say they're in a league of sorts or something like that. And they're kind of elite.
I like
that. If I beat them, then I'm the best there ever was. Now, the future of this game is really bright, especially when it comes to modding because of how flexible the Unreal Engine is to begin with. But outside of that, I think that knowing that they're leaning so hard into player-to-player interaction tells me that they know exactly what they need to do to make sure that this game not only remains relevant, but also has the best path forward to a brighter future, even more sales, and even more content. I can easily see RP servers. I can see faction wars between people where they're...
It's going to be hard for them to make that happen. I don't know if they can do that or not. I think that they will have to retool some things in the game in order to make it work differently. Because, like, how can you have server transfers and not have it be, like, totally disruptive? I think that they have to make, like, different server rule sets, and you have to play on those rule sets. Because then people will just go on a modded server, give themselves everything, and then go on the actual server and just roll people. So, like, how do you handle that?
Over different resources, they're raiding each other's bases, they're building fortresses in certain areas, they're trying to keep people out from being able to fight the tower bosses and things like that. I can see it all. And I can't wait for it. Now, while multiplayer is key to the game's longevity, keeping players in the game, balancing that with more end-game content, new islands, pals, bosses, and
that's what matters.
Will help bring players back to the game and keep the game fresh.
See, that's what it is for me. Like, it's the same as, like, with Valheim. Like, I'll come back and play the Ashlands whenever it comes out, probably. You know, same as I went back and I played the Mistlands. And, like, whenever Palworld adds in new stuff, like, I'm absolutely going to do it. It's not even a question.
People who are already playing the game find ways to entertain themselves.
This says, yeah, because I'm already bored. Shut up. You're already bored. Like, what, after how many hours? Like 150 hours? Oh, now I'm bored now. Get a fucking job, then. You're so fucking bored. Get a job.
And why we see RP servers. People who have finished the game and need a reason to come back, well, that's what new content is for, and they will come back for it. The Dead by Daylight developer had mentioned how addictive the combination of survival game loops like Build One More and the Pokemon game loop of Catch One More can be. Well, this is effectively a fountain of youth for Palworld. where survival and building mechanics can only generate so much interest, new monsters and lands to explore are proven by the Pokemon formula to keep players coming back over and over and over again. I'm not really sure if Pocket Pair knew that they were combining and making this diabolical concoction of gaming alchemy that's going to develop into this incredibly addictive game, or whether they did it on accident. But either way, it's absolutely genius because it's something that
Probably
they're going
both.
to be able to iterate on.
One thing
forever.
I've noticed is, like, with a lot of games, how is it that all of the bugs in Super Smash Bros. Melee pretty much have all, like, come together to make the game even more competitive and interesting? Like, what are the fucking odds of that? The tech, yeah, that's crazy. So, yeah, no, I think the truth is that whenever you have a really good game and you're developing it in a good way, it's like there's the same with Mario 64. You're right. And like classic WoW, it's like you have these like serendipitous outcomes that are the aftermath of a great game. And it's like on the opposite, you have games that are really bad and they have these like terrible bad things that like the developers never even thought of. Like having to run Torghast twice a week. Imagine that.
Just the same as the Pokemon franchise has done. As long as you're adding new areas to explore, new monsters, new things for us to challenge, things like that, well, those players are always going to be happy. As long as you're increasing the amount of things that we can build and the areas that we can build on, well, now you're making those survival people happy as well.
Exactly.
And all you have to do is just keep adding on to those things until you can't anymore, and then you come out with a new game, and bam, bam, thank you, ma'am. Guess what? You're making more millions, or billions, I guess, in the case of Palworld.
It's a lot of money.
With that said, it's incredible. It's something they're going to be able to continue to work on for quite a long time, and it's just the gift that keeps on giving, not only to them, but to the players as well. And as long as the quality stays high and they stick with the plans that they've set forth, the game is just going to continue to do well.
It will, and it will go down in popularity. Like, Palworld is not going to have the same level of popularity that it has now in 6 months, probably, unless they do some kind of crazy thing that we can't even predict right now. The truth is that, like, that's the way that any game is, and that's not meaning that a game is bad. It means that a game was great. We had a lot of fun playing it. It was fucking awesome. What's the problem with that?
That. Now, I realize that a lot of people in the industry are scratching their heads. They're saying, how come you coach him but not me? They're upset about it. And I get it, because it doesn't make a lot of sense to them, because their priorities have been in the wrong places for far too long.
That's exactly right. The developers, Western developers, have priorities in the wrong places. You want to make the game feel warm? I just glitched through a wall. You talk about warmth? The boss has 2 mechanics. This is the situation that needs to be addressed. Warmth.
Play games are becoming less and less attractive to consumers.
Oh, you played Diablo 4?
We're seeing that oh my God, losing my language here. We're seeing that many indie games, AA games, independent studios are the ones that are starting to lead the charge.
Well, we have to keep in mind, again, now that we've had Skull and Bones come out, now we have to go into the realm of quadruple A games, no longer just triple A games, quadruple A games.
Here, many of the games that were released that ended up being Game of the Year didn't come from major AAA studios. They didn't come from first-party titles. Heck, most of them were just single A, double A, and a few indie games as well. I think that ultimately what's going to end up happening, especially with games like we've seen with Baldur's Gate 3, and now we're also now seeing this with Palworld, there's going to be a bit of a correction within the market or within the industry. At least I hope they're going to have some type of correction where they're going to realize...
Oh, there is. That's why a bunch of people are getting fired. It's because they're not good at their job. They suck. That's the truth. That's like that guy, that narrative guy at Blizzard, the Steve Denuser. They fucking kicked him out because he's trash. That's what happens. You go to your job, you suck, you get fired. You should be happy they let him stay there for that long. If he worked in any other industry, he'd been out on his ass in 6 weeks. If that. Probably 6 days.
Is that we don't necessarily need all these massive budgets. We don't need this AAA polish all of the time. sometimes you just need to give us a sandbox to play with our friends, and we'll be able to figure things out on our own. And that's exactly what a game like Palworld is giving us. Yeah, it has some bumper rails on the side, things that we're already used to, like collecting Pokemon or pals or whatever you'd like to call them, but also at the exact same time, well, it gives us this world that we can craft and create our own adventure and do things as we will, take challenges on as we want to take them or as we discover them. And that's really important, because at the end of the day, like I said, it's not necessarily...
Yeah, I will fucking remember that 25-minute fight with that jet dragon. Bro, like, that was, like, my initiation to become a man in that game. Because, like, there was the time before I had him, and then after I had him. And after I had him, bro, like, my entire perspective of the game changed. Like, 3 days and 3 nights, I fought this fucking dragon. And I killed him. Well, I didn't kill him, but I got his ass. And he had the best, it's a fucking ferocious on him too. I was like, oh my God, this is insane. I was so happy.
Big budget games that we're looking forward to.
Oh, absolutely remember that.
We just want to have fun.
Can't off the ball.
That's all Palworld is.
Oh, yeah.
Just a fun game.
Imagine that.
I have more content planned on Palworld that I'm going to make. I have another video that kind of dives into exactly why a lot of us really like the game, or more or less why it's made such large waves in the industry. So look forward to that. If you guys did enjoy this video, or you guys are just enjoying the content of the channel overall, think about supporting me on Patreon. I leave my Patreon.
I need to play Enshrouded
more. Every
more.
bit helps. Outside of that, my friends, stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe, and most of all, I will see you in Palworld.
There it is.
Peace. Also, catch me live.
I really think they need to do something to, like, make there more of a social experience playing Palworld. I would love that. Valheim did? Yeah. Well, I mean, like, Valheim, the funny thing is, like, if I look at Valheim, like, so Palworld, how many hours did I put into Palworld? I have 219 hours. How many hours did I put into Valheim? 310 hours. I did a second playthrough. Whenever the new content came out for stream. Like, I feel like I really enjoy these games. I did. Valheim was awesome. Yeah, you did AFK Sleep, though? No, I played Valheim more. Like, absolutely, I played Valheim more. 100%. I've been spoiled by both Palworld and Enshrouded. It's been a good year so far. Yeah, I mean, and if you look right here, like, let me see how these games are doing, right? I mean, you've got Palworld still at over 500,000 people. Like, that is fucking crazy. How's Enshrouded doing? Enshrouded. That's still pretty fucking good, man. Like, I would say, like, it's almost hitting 100,000. That is decent. It's dying? Well, of course it's going down. Absolutely it's going down. Because people have already played it and they're burning out of the game. That's the way it works. Is a game comes out, people are excited about it, they play it a lot, and then they lose interest after they do the content, and then they wait for more content. That's normal. That's good. It's not bad considering Palworld came out. Yeah, I think that if Palworld didn't come out at the same time it did, that Enshrouded would probably be like 50% more popular. Yeah, they reached the end of the current content. Yeah, that's totally fucking fine. Grand Blue Relink? Ooh. Oh my God. I'm really surprised to see this game still doing so well. That is crazy. Holy fuck, man. Yeah, Relink is doing good. Well, let's look at Suicide Squad. Man. That's really something, isn't it? Yeah, that's really something. You played it offline? Yeah, I did. I did play Grand Blue offline a little bit. What would you say is the average lifespan of a game these days? The average lifespan of a game. I would say a good live service game will last for 8 months. A good single player game will last for 2 months. And that's like, so whenever I say last, I mean maintaining relevance in the eyes of the public where everybody's still talking about it and thinking about it. Like, that's what I really mean whenever I'm talking about, like, maintaining relevance. Last having 500k confirmed players? Yeah, no, I mean, it depends, right? Hogwarts? Well, I mean, Hogwarts is a dead game, right? Like, if I look at this right here, how many people are playing it? 10,000 people. I mean, that's not as much as it was. But, like, yeah, you know why it's a dead game, by the way? It's because people played it. Like, people beat the game. Like, it was the top-selling game for the whole year, I think. It's a single-player game. Still more than Suicide Squad? Wait, is it really? Oh, my God. Hogwarts is actually outperforming Suicide Squad. That's actually sad. Holy fuck, that's bad. What about Monster Hunter World? Dude, this game... This is still really, really good, guys. Like, I'm gonna be honest. Like, this is really, really good. As it went up to this much, 76K? Yeah. This is nuts.